Welcome to the second part of the series called Project Josh, which is the road to New Zealand Regional Barista Championship, performed by Josh Peacock. You've met Josh in the previous video. He is the person who doesn't work with coffee, but still wants to participate in the competition, usually occupied by professionals. In 3.5 hours, we are going to have another session, training session. And let me tell you, now things are getting more and more intense. And that is because we've actually started to incorporate Josh's competition coffee to his practices. For many weeks, we were getting him ready to basically become a barista. The process was very much about all the technical parts of preparing the espresso and just an operation of coffee station equipment such as coffee machine and the grinder and all the little tools around it. And for that we were using many different type of beans that we have available or access to, just so he gets confident enough to take that next step that we are approaching right now, which is creating a specific recipe for the competition coffee. Creating the recipe means nothing else but making the plan for how to prepare the coffee so it tastes the best to its potential. You have to bring the coffee that you want to present to the judges with you. It is rather essential for the whole presentation that you would have some special connection with that coffee. And there are several ways of how you can get coffee like this. Sometimes you already know that coffee because you happened to taste it amongst all the coffees that you've tasted so far. You can reach out to local roasters, ask for some samples and perform a lot of tasting and choose the coffee that you want to take on the competition. You can also contact the green bean suppliers if they are around you or you have some connection with them and see if there is any chance for sampling and purchasing smaller volumes of the coffees that they have available in the warehouse. And then later on, maybe if you have the tools, you can roast that coffee yourself, or maybe you could collaborate with some friendly roasters around you. In Josh's case, we were very fortunate to already have a connections to both green coffee supplier and a very knowledgeable roaster. People who stand behind the label of green coffee importer and the roaster, they've actually contributed a lot of time, a lot of their knowledge and tools, the product completely for free. Together with Josh, we wanted you to get to know them a little bit better, what they actually do, what role they play in the preparation for the competition and in general coffee community. I hope that you will get at least a little bit inspired by the actions of our special guest of today's episode. The story around green bean supplier is very simple. At the moment that we were preparing Josh's for the competition and making the initial plan, I was actually working for green bean importers. So naturally, the first choice was to see if Opal, which is the name of the company that I was working for, has some interesting coffee that Josh would like to use for the competition. So while I enjoy my coffee, you are more than welcome to enjoy a short interview that Josh did with Nikolai Graham, who represent Opal Green Coffee. Have fun.
Hi, I'm Josh. You've probably been following me from the previous video. I am at Opal today with Nikolai, and I've got a few questions for him to ask about the competition and about Opal. So to start off with, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and about Opal?
Hello, my name is Nikolai.
Do you want to hold it?
Hello, my name is Nikolai. I've been working Opal Coffee for about 2.5 years. Came on board with, as you know, Craig Jones, who headed up the New Zealand part of the office. We have an office in Australia and the United States, and we're a green bean importer. The parent company is Indonesian. We thought there was a niche in the market that we could bring different things in for offerings as what was on the market already.
How do you know me?
I met you through Michelina. Here's Michelina, she's coming to say hi. You're a very keen and enthusiastic volunteer in the local Christchurch coffee scene. You also help out at events around the country, and we held monthly cupping events here just to showcase what we have on offer here at Opal Coffee. And you were quite a enthusiastic member and participant in these. And yeah, just hang out, seeing you around the traps at local coffee joints.
All right, cool. And just to carry on with those public cuppings, could you tell us a bit more about them and why Opal hosts them in the first place?
As I said, it's to showcase some of the offerings that we have here. It's all about education, I would say. We've had cuppings where we've taught people how people in the profession cup. We've also had cuppings that have the point scores of the coffees ranging from 80s right the way through to 90. So it's not us trying to tell people that they're doing anything wrong, but as a green bean importer, we just like to share the education because as coffee world, as you know, it can be quite daunting. So we open the doors for local coffee people, enthusiastic amateurs and coffee professionals and the like.
What motivated Opal to sponsor me for the regionals?
Look, you're, I guess, if you coin a phrase, not a coffee professional. You're a very, very keen, passionate amateur. And we just liked the whole idea around the premise that we had a team of people that were willing to put their knowledge and their skill and time and effort into training you up to see how you can go and foot it with the big kids. So we said coffee can be quite daunting. Some could see it as elitist in a way. So we love the fact that we've got Josh from the street and he's going to go in and give it his all. And we're really excited to, one, get our name out there, but support you in your passion as well.
Thank you. That's really sweet. To kind of go on from that is, so let's say I was a coffee professional and I was looking to compete in a regional barista champs. Why should I choose Opal as a coffee provider?
I think locally, we're here that we can service the guys. A couple of people have come in and we have all the beans here on site. So it's like a little supermarket, if you will. You can like try before you buy type deal. We have ranges from all over the world and it can be a little bit a different offering. So it's good to get a different type of coffee out in the market as opposed to everyone using the same offerings.
Seeing a lot of variety, I think, is always a great thing, which I don't think anyone is against. Opal Coffee is a green bean coffee importer. What does an importer do from the consumer's perspective?
Great question, Josh. Thanks for asking. So green bean importer, basically what they do is they put the word out to coffee plantations around the world. They work with different partners. They wait until new season crops are coming through. They request samples. The samples are then sent out by email to the respective importers. From there, they go through a quality control process, and once they have been deemed acceptable, the importer then will get back in touch with the origins and say, yeah, we'll take X amount of this, X amount of that. They work out on pricings, and then it gets harvested, bagged up, and shipped over to wherever your import office is. And then from there, the quality control process happens again. And then after that, the importer will start selecting roasters to send samples out to. And then hopefully people like what they see or they taste and they buy it. And then the consumer gets a nice cup of coffee and filter.
Cool. Could you expand a bit more on like that quality control aspect? Like how does an importer choose a coffee to import?
The beans come in. They're inspected by MPI to make sure that there's no bugs, anything like that shouldn't be in there. From there, once the beans arrive at the warehouse, what we do is we draw samples, we calculate, we use a couple of machines that will test the water activity in the beans, we'll test the moisture content as well. Then from there, we inspect the beans to make sure that they look good, there's no chips, cracks, discoloured beans, because if they were to roast it, then that could fault the whole crop. From there, they're roasted, and then we leave them for a couple of days to degas. From there, then we go into what's called a cupping process, which essentially is like wine tasting, but for coffee, where we will grind the beans, smell them, and then we'll do slip, slurp, and suck, which for those who don't know is basically just sipping out of a tablespoon and aerating it like what people would do in wine tasting. Once we've deemed that they're acceptable, then we log them into a program called Tasteify, which brings up flavour characteristics, flavour profiles, and a cupping score, and we deem that acceptable. Then the other process of sending the samples out to other coffee roasters to try happens.
So to finish up on this, do you have any thoughts or advice you'd like to give for the viewers either about Opal or about competition or about coffee in general?
Don't be afraid. There's a world of knowledge at your fingertips. If you know somebody, ask the barista, ask people around who are selling your coffee about the coffees, go on Google, research things if you're interested or you want to know more, and yeah, just don't stop asking questions. And as for you, just keep doing what you're doing, and we'll back you 100%.
All right, thank you. I believe that concludes our interview. Helena would like to say a few things.
I just want to say that Nikolai here was the person who came up with the name for our project, Project Josh. That was Nikolai who said it first. Very good. And cut. This might be quite a long episode, but all the parts are important. None of them is to be missed. So now just very quickly about how did we get to choose which coffee Josh will be actually using. As you've heard in the interview with Nikolai, Opal specializes in Indonesian microloads. Josh happened to be a fan of Indonesian coffee, so we've chosen several different microloads to taste. Josh had no idea what coffees are in the glasses. He only knew that those are Indonesian microloads, and the idea of the cupping was simply for Josh to see if amongst all those coffees on the table, there will be the one that he likes enough to present on the stage. The circumstances of that cupping were rather funny. Maybe Josh will say something about it.
We were going to join in on a defect cupping hosted by Lance Hedrick and Scott Rao. Being New Zealand time, that meant 4 a.m. We were tasting coffees at the same time because we were already drinking some coffee.
So yes, I was wearing pajamas that night. You've seen that there were also other people. None of them also knew what coffees are on the table. They knew that we might be searching the coffee for the competition. I did have a coffee that I would be very happy if Josh decided to use it for the competition. But I didn't want him to have any pressure, any biases. So we've tasted the coffees and I just waited for him to tell me what coffee he thinks is the best. I was thrilled when he decided to actually choose the coffee that I also liked the most. The coffee is called Aurora. Aurora turned out to be a coffee that Jason Moore, who offered to be Josh's roaster for the competition, has also liked the most. Jason actually reserved the coffee that Josh also liked the most fully for the purpose of having it in his roastery. He did know that Josh is about to choose the coffee for the competition, and he kindly offered, without Josh knowing it, that if Josh chooses the coffee that Jason also liked that much, Jason is very happy for Josh to use that coffee for the competition. I think that adds up to the story beautifully, because not only Josh and Jason, they liked the same coffee the most, but also that coffee will be available for everyone to purchase through Vanguard Specialty Coffee Company, which is the roastery that Jason Moore owns. And yeah, I think it's just great. When Josh was ready to take that next step of working with his competition coffee, he had a chance to actually visit Jason in his roastery in Dunedin and roasted coffee with him. So I'm gonna take a moment to calm down a little bit from the excitement with how it all beautifully plays out. And you are more than welcome to listen to a short interview that Josh did with Jason when he was in Dunedin. Go ahead and be inspired.
Hello, I'm here with Jason today at the Vanguard Roastery. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. All right, we'll get straight into it.
Sure.
Who are you? Introduce yourself and the brand.
So my name is Jason and I am the owner roaster of Vanguard Specialty Coffee in Dunedin. We're a pretty small roastery specialising in sourcing high quality single origin coffees with emphasis on light roasts and connecting the consumer with the producer through telling their story and sharing their hard work.
How do you know me? How do you know Josh?
Last year, I came out of retirement to do a barista competition at the Nationals, and there was this guy on the music desk actually. No one knew what they were doing, and this guy sort of had a big smile and was super enthusiastic, and I'm pretty sure he turned up the cup tasters as well and the latte art, and I thought, this guy is passionate about coffee. What's his deal? It turns out he's just passionate about coffee. So that's the kind of people we like. So yeah, that's how I know Josh. Through a mutual love of coffee. Exactly.
Well, why have you chosen to support me in that case? Do you have anything else to add?
So a few reasons why I've really decided to get behind you, Josh. For a long time there's been this sort of air of superiority in baristas and the culture behind it. There's always this divide between consumers and the baristas, and I mean, and not just the physical divide of a counter. There's that often customers would love to know more about where their coffee comes from, but sometimes the baristas aren't the person to actually engage with that story and have that discussion because it's busy or because maybe they don't know. So having someone like Josh come along who's actively learning, intensely passionate about it, has gone out on their own to learn and grow and foster the community, like, I respect that massively. And I've got to support people like that because they don't come around every day. And yeah.
Thank you for the kind words, Jason. It means a lot. How are you able to get your roasting expertise towards a championship?
I mean, there's a lot of different ways to approach roasting for a competition like this. And part of what we're trying to do here is select coffees that showcase where they come from and be able to roast them and develop them in a way that we communicate that connection with the farmer and the processing, while being able to, in this case, control the roaster in such a way to create a flavour profile that works well through espresso, especially in a competition. So because of the fact that it requires a lot of finesse, I've got a lot of tools and passion and experience around understanding more about coffee. So I feel like through the coffee that we've sourced and the way we've roasted it, we've sort of hitting the brief and really going to do some justice.
For the viewers' interests, how should a barista go about choosing a coffee?
There's a lot of different ways to look at coffee choice for the competitions. New Zealand is as far from growing countries as you can probably be, and we are incredibly limited by what is available to us, especially with what's fresh and in season. So I think for me, choosing a coffee that really speaks to you as the competitor is really important. Something that you believe in the story, you have some connection to how it's grown, harvested, processed, to the farmers, to the soil. Something that connects you to that is a really good choice, because it's a lot easier to present a coffee to judges that you believe in wholeheartedly. So for me, that's really crucial, is having a good story and a good feeling behind it. Equally with that, it's got to taste good. It's got to be a good quality coffee, and finding something for us that was unique enough, but yet had enough defining characteristics that would hold up in a more developed roast was also very important. So something that was not too delicate, but had a good sweetness, good body, good texture, and obviously the ability to cut through a cup of milk, or alternative milk as it may be. So cupping lots of different coffees. The one that we selected, I think, well, Josh has selected, ticks all the boxes, and I think it'll be a really good choice.
How does Vanguard contribute to the education of the coffee community, or just contribute to the community as a whole?
So one of the main things that we're really passionate about is connecting, the stories of the farmers at origin to the end consumers, and we do that through a lot of different ways. The way that our roastery is set up, everything's on display. We encourage customers to come in and talk about the coffee that they're drinking, have a look at how we're brewing it. We've got a couple of decent espresso machines, and they're really great at engaging, and getting people to engage with, because it's not often you see a machine that's controlled by a tablet and you've got control over flow and pressure. Our roaster's right behind there, and you can see the whole thing. We bring customers in out the back and we show them our Vortex Eco filter for treating the emissions from the roasting. We do free cuppings on a Saturday at the roastery, and just really want to be able to make it easy for people to ask questions and answer questions and build that community through a mutual love and understanding of coffee and what it can be.
Can you share any specific insights or advice towards the competition preparation for any barista out there or non-barista?
I'll draw on my experience competing. The competitions are a really amazing opportunity for someone to take a passion or an enthusiasm and really push it further, to really dive deep into the coffee. And the thing which I find that always comes out of these competitions is huge amounts of learning, and that to me, whether you come first or last on the day, it's about the learning and the journey that gets you there. And I just think, go into a competition, go into the process with an open mind and push yourself, and the rewards are humongous. It's huge what you can get out of it. So share your passion, the determination, and just look for every opportunity there to learn and push yourself further, and huge potential for growth.
What do you hope the viewers have gained from watching our videos?
There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes of cafes, coffee companies, roasteries, and especially competitions. And it's a craft, it's a profession that people love doing. And if anyone gets anything from this, I hope it is an appreciation of the work that goes in to behind the scenes of the coffee industry, and also an appreciation of the processing coffee itself.
Any additional thoughts about competition, coffee as a whole, you or I as a person?
I think if you are a barista anywhere and you've thought about furthering your career, you've entertained the idea of a barista competition, I think you should go for it. It can be very daunting, but the thing that makes the coffee industry so special is that, especially in New Zealand, everyone's willing to help. Everyone's willing to step out and go the extra mile to help someone who wants to achieve. And I think that if you're a young barista somewhere and you've entertained these ideas, reach out to your local coffee roasteries, your events committees, anyone doing anything in the coffee industry, because everyone wants to, grow together and, make a bright future for coffee. Peace and coffee.
Peace and coffee.
They said peace and coffee. But that's not the end of this episode yet, because it would be absolutely rude of me if I didn't say anything about the producers of the coffee. Without them, we wouldn't have a coffee to talk about. We wouldn't have a coffee to take on the stage, to choose, to roast, to taste. None of that would be happening. So shout out to Bloom Coffee Project, who produced the coffee that Josh is going to present on the stage. We simply couldn't be happier working with that coffee. Bloom Coffee Project is a collaboration of producers whose goal is to change the perceptions of Indonesian coffee amongst coffee consumers by applying various processing methods to the coffees. They want to break the stereotypical tastes of Indonesian coffees. And so the producers introduce very wide range of very unique flavors compositions to the coffee market. Some of Bloom's micro lots were presented and acknowledged during the National Cup of Excellence competitions, and that simply means that they produce a high quality coffee. I won't go very deeply into the details about Aurora, because I think it would be nice to keep it a little bit of a secret and a mystery and a cherry on top for Josh's competition. So let the end of this video be my invitation for the last video that we're gonna share with you, and that will be Josh's presentation. Depending how emotional I will be on the day and if I will be able to multitask, maybe I'll do the live stream of the whole presentation. We'll see. If not, sooner or later you will get to know all of the details about coffee, because Josh will be also talking about it. Also, there is a possibility for everyone to buy that coffee through Vanguard Coffee Roasters when it will be released after Josh's presentation. I will leave all the links to all the people and companies who I think are worth following under this video. If you have any questions, you can always leave comments in the comment section below the video, or you can reach out to us on the Instagram. There will be links to it in the description of the video as well. And if you made it this far, I am very grateful for you to stick around, and hopefully you feel maybe a little bit encouraged or inspired to participate in the competition, any competition, in any way. We are looking for the volunteers and judges for the competition. Without them, events like this have no chance of happening. So if you feel like you could be a part of the event, reach out to the Specialty Coffee Association. If it's not in New Zealand, then in any other coffee community that you have around. I promise this is very rewarding and learning experience. If you're up to it, you should come to C4, which is the host of the regional competition in Christchurch. It's the 10th of March 2024. We'll be there. Please come and support Josh and other competitors, because as you can already tell, there is a lot of preparation and a lot of effort that one needs to go through to stand on that stage. So hopefully see you either on the competition day or in another video. Peace and coffee.